Welcome to Big Boof Bets. It's the Get That Money podcast, the 2020 season preview edition. I am Nate Stephenson, as always joined by Mr. Big Boofy Scureman and Mr. Tony T-Bone Guarino. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I came back from my fantasy football draft party this weekend with the frat bros. So I've already had an opportunity to talk some football with the fellas. And I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of that tonight.
Very nice, Boof. Very nice, Boof. How about you, Tone? What's going on?
Just trying to adapt to the quarantine life as best as we can. Trying to adapt back into the sports betting since we've basically just recently slid back in there with return of NBA, MLB, NHL. So it's sort of it's like riding a bike, right? You get back on there, dust off the old pedal and wheels there in the betting world, and I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing. Been some minor wins and some minor losses, that's for sure. But all it's done is get me excited for the NFL season. So really excited to be back and talking about this now.
Absolutely, man. Totally agree. I've been off of work a lot this month, so ever since sports has been on like all day since the return, it's definitely been a nice distraction to have. Literally being able to watch sports all day. So I definitely feel you there. Fantasy football wise, like I have about 4 drafts. They're going to be in a total of like 3 or 4 days. So gonna have a lot of work on that front. But definitely looking forward. Excited to. We're a little scared, but excited to finally be able to talk some NFL betting here, and excited. Looks like the season's actually going to happen on time, and hopefully in its continuity, in totality here. So definitely really excited. I'm ready to dive into some season future bets here. If you guys are,
yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, got a long haul here, so let's start off in the NFC East. Let's take a look at the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like your over-under line for season win totals is coming in at 9.5.
All right, so just to give everybody a little quick idea what we're doing here, we're just going to go through division by division here, quickly hit all the teams, what their over/under win totals are, and pick a division winner that we like. Highlight some bets that we like, highlight some bets that we don't like, and hopefully by the end, make everybody some money. So with that, as Tony said, we're going to start off in the NFC East. We got the Cowboys at 9.5 wins. I lean over here. I do think it's bettable to bet the Cowboys at over 9.5. I do think their floor here is 10 wins this season. The Redskins are still rebuilding hardcore. The Giants are on the up, but they're still rebuilding. Cowboys are, again, more talented than the Eagles. I like the addition of Mike McCarthy as their coach. I think that's going to be a good marriage with him and Dak and the talent that they have at receiver. So I feel pretty comfortable taking over 9.5 for their win total, and they are also my favorite to win the division, which I'm only getting minus 130 odds on that. So I'm also going to bet that as well. So give me both of those for the Cowboys. I feel pretty good about it.
I disagree. I end up going with a pass on this. Just because, I could see them getting over there, but I would lean on them hitting under 9.5. My big thing is how much has really changed about this team. So we got a new head coach. We got Mike McCarthy in there instead of Jason Garrett. But at the end of the day, this was an 8-8 football team last season. Their defense was not very good. I don't think they've done a whole lot to improve it. Their offensive line is worse. Travis Frederick, their center, will not be playing football for them this season. I know we drafted CD Lamb, but they already had a good wide receiving core. So you might even run into a situation where you get a little turmoil over, the wide receivers not being able to eat enough on an individual basis. And I just think it's the same old Cowboys. They went 8-8 last year. Maybe they get another one. They get to 9-7. But they find a way to lose important games. I think that'll happen again this season. And this total was a pass for me.
Okay, well, that takes us to the Philadelphia Eagles, likely divisional rival this year. They have an over-under of 9.5. Some places have seen it at 9, but, call it 9.5.
I'm going to lean under here. reasons, some of the reasons I've already touched on. I think the Eagles are less talented than the Cowboys. If you find a line out there for them to make the playoffs, and you like that, I wouldn't hate if you did that, but I don't like them to win the division. I could see their win total going either way. I'm hovering either at 9, 8, 9, or 10 wins. So I'm passing on across the board for the Eagles.
Like you said, Tone, you can get the Eagles as low as 9. I do like over 9 here. They went 9-7 last year, and let's be honest. I mean, by the end of the season, they had guys from the local high school team just getting called up to go and play NFL football for them, and they somehow managed to win all 4 games against divisional opponents, sneak into the playoffs at 9-7. They're a little healthier this year. I know they already have an injury on the offensive line, but hopefully that doesn't snowball into like 4 injuries on the offensive line or anything like that. I think if we can avoid any sort of catastrophe like that, I think Philly finds a way to win, 10 games here. And I do like them to win the division. You can get them at plus 130. I think that's a solid bet as well for the Eagles. So I like over 9 wins, and I like the plus 130 for them to win the division.
All right. Well, looking at the lower half division, we'll start there with the New York Football Giants with an over/under of 6 and/or 6.5.
Yeah. I like some of the stuff that's going on there in New York, but again, you're looking at a rebuilding team. They definitely have some talent. Would it surprise a ton of people if they won, 8 or 9 games? Not terribly, but again, it's just not something. I think their win total at 6 is about right. I could see them going about 6-10. If they have a good year, maybe 7 or 8 wins, but as a whole, definitely passing across the board for them.
Yeah, the Giants I could see anywhere from being like god awful and going like 2-14, or Daniel Jones having a big year and these guys contending to make the playoffs. So anytime I'm wavering that much on a team, that's best to stay away. They are a pass for me.
All right, now we're done with that wild card. We'll finish out the division with the Washington. What are we calling them these days? The over/under. The over/under is at 5
for the Washington football team.
I mean, personally, I think they should have just changed their logo to a potato, and they could have still remained the Redskins. And I think that would have been great.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
It's a very popular meme on social media.
But yes, I think 5 wins, I think, is their ceiling. So if that's definitely not an over bet. If I would lean to the under, but Ron Baveri is a good football coach. They have some talent on their team. So again, it's just when you're talking teams that have low expectations, they need to be really, really bad for me to bet an under. They do have a good head coach, I think, and some talent. So they win 6 games, they bust your bet. So I'm passing on it.
All right, so I originally did not have anything in for these guys. I was going to pass, but the more I think about it here, I am going to take under 5 on them. They were 3-13 last season. Yes, they did bring in Ron Rivera as a head coach. I do think they upgrade in the head coach department. We got the same QB. I do not like Dwayne Haskins. I do not think he just takes this magical step forward this season. Darius Geis got into some trouble with the law, so they're already down their top running back. Let's face it, they're going to have distractions from ownership pretty much the entire season here. They've got multiple sexual assault cases that they're dealing with. And I think when they start to lose games, you're going to be dealing with questions like that. And, you get a little bit of turmoil in the front office there. That's never good. So I am going to take under 5 here, and I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, well, staying in the NFC, we'll move north and start with the Minnesota Vikings. Over/under win total at 8.5 or 9.
Lost the OC, lost Stephon Diggs. Kirk Cousins is still their quarterback. I expect some regression here, but at the same time, I do think this is going to be a highly competitive division. Not a highly talented division, but a highly competitive division. So it's just again, I could go on either side of the win total, so it's not something I feel comfortable with on either side, so I'm passing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the win total is about right. The Vikings won 10 games last season, so they were 10-6. Did get a win in the playoffs as well. But you're down your number one wide receiver. You're down your offensive coordinator. What kind of effect is that going to have on Kirk Cousins?
Lost Xavier Rhodes, too.
Yeah, no more Xavier Rhodes, and his play had declined as well. So you're missing what used to be kind of a shutdown corner guy. And that's an important part of defenses these days. Oh, that's always been an important part of defenses, really. But I think the 8.5, 9 is in the neighborhood. I think that's about right. So this is a pass for me.
Okay, moving on to the Green Bay Packers. We have an over-under win total of 8.5.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with over 8.5 here for the Packers. Yeah, they won 13 games last year, and their expected win total was actually 9. So they overachieved last year. So even if they have a little bit of negative regression this year, you're still looking at likely over 8.5. They still have the most talented quarterback in the division. So I think that's I feel pretty good about betting over 8.5. I will bet that. They are also my likely division champion. A little high on the juice at minus 190, but again, I feel pretty good about Packers winning the division. So those are going to be my two picks there. Over 8.5 and the Packers to win the NFC North.
It's actually a plus 190 on the division there. I don't know. I hate to pay out.
Oh, I'm sorry, my fault. Then yeah, I like it even better. I misread that.
I also like the over 8.5 wins. I feel like the Packers drafted Jordan Love, and everybody thinks all of a sudden this team sucks. Like there's a difference between losing a bunch of talent from your current roster and just not fixing what I will admit is an obvious need on the team at wide receiver. But they had that need last year, and they were still able to win 13 games. So you're telling me we could win 4 less games and still cash our ticket here? I'm down with that. And then the whole Aaron Rodgers, again, there's a difference between Aaron Rodgers not being as good as he was in 2010 or 2015 and Aaron Rodgers stinks. He still threw 27 touchdowns and only 7 picks last year. So I think they're still doing pretty good at quarterback. And they are better on defense. They're better in the running game than they've been in previous years as well. So I don't see any reason why we can't win 9 games. And like Nate said, we got a plus 190 payout there for the division. I do like them to win the division. I think that's a solid payout for them, so I like that bet as well. Nate, I saw you like the over 8.5. How do you feel about locking that one in?
I'll definitely lock that in.
All right, so we have our first lock of the 2020 football season.
First season lock, baby. Get that money.
All right. I like it. Let's head on to the Chicago Bears, who have a season total of over under 8.
I'm not going to beat around the bush here. The Bears are ass. I think they suck. I've seen analysts saying that they actually should be a contender for the division this year. I don't see it. Their best weapon is Allen Robinson on offense, who, mind you, is very good. But who's going to get him the ball? Mitch Trubisky sucks. They brought in Nick Foles because Mitch Trubisky sucks. Nick Foles sucked last year. If there's anyone that has pedigree, it is Nick Foles. I mean, obviously he had a magical run leading the Eagles to the Super Bowl recently, but right now I see 2 quarterbacks that are just backup quarterbacks contending for the starting job. And I don't think the Bears are a very great team. So I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 8. Give me the higher number. I think that's a really good bet. Obviously, I don't like them for the division at all, and I don't like them to make the playoffs. So I just think they suck. I think the Bears suck. I think they're a top 10 team in the draft next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Bears are a bottom 5 team in the league, just point blank. And pretty much the reasons you said. I don't think Nick Foles does a whole lot to fix their problems on offense. They're average on defense. I think this is a 4 or 5 win team. I mean, we're talking about under 8. Give me that all day. Even if I'm wrong by 2 games, I'm still cashing that one. Under 8, give it to me. And I know we're locking that one in. Is that correct, Nate?
Are we locking it in? Get that money.
All right, back-to-back locks. Let's end the NFC North with the Detroit Lions. We have an over-under win total of 6.5.
So yeah, I know we're gonna have a little disagreement on this one here. So the Lions are personally one of my dark horses this year in the NFC. I'm gonna pick over 6.5 wins. I think I think their floor honestly is 7 wins this year. So I'm taking over 6.5. I feel pretty good about that. I'm definitely betting that. And quite frankly, at for their division odds, they are plus 500. I mean, in a division where I don't see a ton of separation between all the teams, the Bears being obviously the worst, I don't think I think that's not a bad value bet. I still like the Packers to win the division, but I I I think Patricia's doing some good things. I like their draft, and I think it's a good value bet at plus 500 for the Lions to win the division. And if you can find a line to make the playoffs that you feel comfortable with, I wouldn't feel too bad about betting that as well.
There are definitely reasons for optimism with the Lions. I mean, Stafford was playing at an MVP level last season. They drafted Swift out of Georgia to add a little running back depth there, for them on offense. And even last season, we kind of commented on they seem to be one drive, one play away from winning probably 4 different times last season. So if you can even get half of them, we're getting 2 more wins. So if they can do that this season, I don't hate taking over there. I just don't love it enough to put everybody's hard-earned money at risk here. So at the end of the day, it is a pass for me. The plus 500, I do agree with you. I think that's a nice value there for something that is reasonable for them to win the division and, get 5 times your money on. So I don't hate that as a pick.
Okay, well, now we're going to head the opposite direction to the NFC South. They'll start things off with the New Orleans Saints. The over-under is at 10.5.
So my big concern here is that I don't think the Saints window is closed. Especially considering you still have Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. You have a lot of talent on offense. It's basically, what are you getting out of an aging Drew Brees? Normally, once you start to get injured, it's a lot harder to come back from that. So you're already starting to see Drew Brees' arm strength declining. He was hurt part of the year last year. Arguably, he was the reason they lost to the Vikings last year in the playoffs. So I still like the Saints to make the playoffs this year, but I think I think with a very competitive division, especially in terms of the Buccaneers, which we'll touch on, I think 11 wins is their ceiling. So and I think you're looking at 9, 10, 11 wins. And a lot of that depends on Drew Brees. So don't feel comfortable with the win total, and obviously don't feel comfortable with them winning the division. So I'm passing on both of those.
Yeah, I agree with you on pretty much all of your points. For myself, it's possible that I'm just kind of getting stuck on the playoff game last year where I did not think Brees looked good. But again, I'm with you. I worry he's due for a decline like all these old guys are. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. I am more concerned about him than I am with, like Tom Brady or anybody. So I do think they regress a couple games this year. 10.5 is probably about right. I think they're 10-6, 11-5. So they are a stay away kind of team for me this year.
Okay. Up next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the over/under at 9.5.
Oh man, at one point this was 9. I wish I had grabbed it then. But still 9.5. I love the over here. I think the Bucs are at least looking at 10 wins. The infusion of Brady into that offense is going to be absolutely massive for Tampa Bay. You're not going to have 30 interceptions like last year. You're immediately cutting your interceptions down by 20, which is insane to say. You are going to have 20 less interceptions this year. Let's start with that. Their defense improved the second half of the year. They have a ton of talent on offense. You're going to have the veteran leadership and playmaking ability and intelligent decision-making of Tom Brady leading your offense. I think you can take it to the bank. The Bucs are at least winning 10 games. They are my favorite to win the division. I like their defense a lot. They showed a lot of improvement, and that's only going to get better with not having to deal with as many turnovers from the offense this year. So give me the Bucks over 10 wins. Love that. And they are my division winner pick as well.
I also like the Bucks at over 9.5. Tom Brady going there kind of reminds me a lot of when Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. And, when he went there, they were already good at wide receiver with Demaryius Thomas. Wes Welker ended up going there as well. They had Julius Thomas tight end. They had a good tight end. They had a good defense. And I think it's a similar situation with the Bucks. You probably have the best wide receiver duo in the league with Godwin and Evans. They already had two good tight ends with Brait and who's a boy from Alabama? Who's a tight end from Alabama?
Oh, Howard.
Yeah. O.J. Howard. And, then obviously Gronk came down there as well. So combine that with a pretty good defense. The Bucks went 7-9 last year. Is Brady worth 3 wins? I know it's a lot, but in my opinion, yes, if not more. And I love the Bucks at over 9.5. I also like them to win the division with the plus 160 payout. And what do you say, Nate? We locking in the over 9.5?
I'm definitely locking that in.
All right, lock it in.
Get that money.
Woohoo! Locking in those Tampa Bay Grunkeneers. That leads us. That leads us to the Atlanta Falcons, who currently have a win total at over under 7.5.
I don't really want to touch the parlay Falcons from last year. I could honestly, I could see them going 7, 8, 9 wins. Like, I just don't know. I could see them winning the division, like on the right day. So, I mean, they started last year really crappy. The end of the year, I believe 6-2. They have some playmakers. They also have an aging quarterback. So it's one of those things where if everything breaks right for the Falcons, they could make the playoffs. They could even win the division. I don't think I feel pretty good saying they're not going to win the division, and it won't surprise me if they make the playoffs. So I think the most likely scenario for the Falcons is 7-9 or 8-8. So you're hovering right around that win total. So if I'm hovering right around it, don't really feel good about it. So I'm passing.
Yeah, if you made me, I would take the over. They're another team where I think there are enough reasons for optimism there. I like their wide receiver duo. I know they lost Austin Hooper, but they replaced him with Hurst from the Ravens. So that might even be an upgrade. They brought in Todd Gurley at running back. That's a question mark, but it's possible that that's an upgrade as well. Defensively, they were better once Raheem Morris took over last season. I just got burned by them so many times last season. I'm not ready to put everybody's hard-earned money at risk here. So at the end of the day, they are a pass for me.
All right, so we'll finish out the NFC South with the Carolina Panthers at an over/under 5.5.
So you still so right now you have a new quarterback, rookie head coach. Granted, with some NFL coaching experience, no NFL head coaching experience coming, and he is coming from the college ranks from Baylor. He was the head coach of Baylor. So with no off season here, I just don't feel comfortable saying they're going to win 6 games. I mean, with the talent they have on offense, they can. But do I feel comfortable saying or betting on that they will? No. And for those reasons as well, I don't feel comfortable saying that they're definitely going to. I would lean under 6 wins. So, but I don't feel comfortable betting either way with Christian McCaffrey on offense, who is a freaking Swiss Army knife. So I'm just passing on the bet.
Here's another one. If you made me, I would take the over. I do think Teddy Bridgewater is an upgrade at quarterback. That's obviously a great place to be upgrading. The rest of the division, I mean, I think the Falcons are better than they were last year. I think the Bucs are way better than they were last year. I think the Saints are a little worse than they were last year. So overall division probably slightly tougher for them. They did win 5 games last year. I don't know. Too close to call. End of the day, it's a pass for me.
All right. So that'll take us to our final NFC division, the NFC West. And we'll kick things off there with the San Francisco 49ers with your over-under at 10.5.
So I'm going to start off by saying I'm going to pass this one. For some reason, the Super Bowl losers seem to struggle the next year. Now, I think the 49ers could be an outlier in that they are still a pretty young, talented team. But They are playing in an improving competitive division this year. I think across the board, the NFC West might be one of the most competitive and hardest divisions to win. So you combine those two things, you're looking at least 11 wins to cover that bet. I just don't feel good about it. They have some injuries at wide receiver. And like I said, you're looking at potentially the Super Bowl hangover. I don't like it, so I'm passing.
Yeah, I mean, 10.5, that's a high win total. It just is. I still think this is a very good football team. If you made me pick who's going to win the division, I would pick them. I don't know. I just think that 10.5 is about right. I mean, they go 11-5 or 10-6 in that division. I mean, that's a pretty good year. And like you said, I mean, there's just a trend where teams do not perform well after losing in the Super Bowl. So they're going to go from 13-3. We're going to lose a couple more, and we're kind of right in the neighborhood here. So I'm going to pass as well.
That takes us to the I can never remember what town they're in now. Rams at the over/under 8.5.
That would be Los Angeles Rams. And we will be all I will be passing on the win total. You lost Brandon Cooks, who, I mean, he was injured a lot last year. But again, as I said, I think this is one of the toughest divisions in football this year. And the Rams, not necessarily by a large margin, but I think the Rams might be the worst team in the division this year. So I obviously want no parts of their division odds. And I think you're looking 7, 8, 9 wins. I don't feel good about any of it. So I'm not touching that.
I actually like the Rams to go under 8.5. They're just, when they were rolling 2 years ago and went to the Super Bowl, they were a team that, relied on their offensive line. They had an excellent running game, played good defense, good play action. And their offensive line is now, they're just a weakness on the team. And they lost a couple guys in free agency. And Andrew Whitworth is still there. He's just older and older every year, obviously. And beyond that, to me, Jared Goff is just such like, you hear this report, after they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, where it's basically they do their motions and stuff pre-snap, and Sean McVay will tell him where he should go with the ball, and that's what he's going to do. And I think teams have been onto that since all last year, and they're still going to be on it this year. And so you can provide a look to the offense, knowing that you're going to switch it after they snap the ball, and then Jared Goff can't make a decision by himself to make you pay for it. So I think they're bad at quarterback. Furthermore, to me, they're feeling the repercussions of investing in the wrong guys on their team. Now, Aaron Donald got paid like a league high for a defensive player. To me, he at least plays to the level of his contract. I think he is the best defensive player in the NFL. So he is worth the actual dollars that he gets paid. Todd Gurley got paid like the highest running back at the time. He's not even with the team anymore. Jared Goff got paid over $30 million a year. He is not a $30 million quarterback. And I think the team total here is going to be feeling the repercussions of the money going to the wrong place. I do like the under 8.5 for them. And I feel good enough to put everybody's money at risk on that one.
Always a good feeling for us to go on. All right, let's take things to the now booming sports town with the NHL edition of the Seattle Kraken. Take a look at the Seattle Seahawks with the over/under at 9.5.
I'm a fan of the Seahawks here. I think that you can feel pretty good about over 9.5 wins. If you can get it at 9 anywhere, if that changes, I like it even better. But I will bet over 9.5 wins. You can feel pretty good with the consistency of Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, and also you're getting plus 230 odds to win the division here. And like the Seahawks split with the Niners last year, they were inches away from sweeping the Niners and winning the division last year. So you're giving me almost coin flip odds to win the division at plus 230. I think I'm not someone who actually comments too much on value, but the only time I really comment on value is if I think it's actually has a decent chance. Like there's a lot of guys who are like, oh, I wouldn't make this bet, but it's good value. And then to me, it's not good value. To me, a good value bet is I'm getting good odds and I think it has a decent chance of happening. I think this has a decent chance of happening. So give me plus 230 for the Seahawks in the division. I will make that bet.
Yeah, I don't hate your logic there, man. For me, it's pass. I agree with a lot of your points. I think this team, if they would embrace Russell Wilson more and kind of change their philosophy to a little bit more pass first, I think they would be a better football team because I think that's kind of what their personnel is built for. They're still weak on the offensive line. You can get like good fantasy production from Chris Carson just because they're committed to running it a lot, but I don't think they're good at running the ball. And so I think they find themselves often trailing in games, just being stubborn with the running game, and then they have to turn it over to Wilson. And when they finally turn it over to them, you're seeing their offense be better. So I think if they would embrace a philosophy change, I would really like the 9.5 over, but I don't think you're going to see that happen. So I am a little bit hesitant. It is a pass for me. Your logic with the plus 230, I can get on board with because I kind of have them pretty close to San Fran as far as who's going to win the division. And San Fran, I have written down here. Yeah, the payout for San Fran is minus 105 winning the division, and the payout for the Seahawks is plus 230. And so if I'm looking at two teams that I kind of think have a pretty similar chance of winning the division, give me the plus 230 rather than the minus 105. So I do think that's a decent bet for the division winner there.
All right, so that leaves us with the Arizona Cardinals, who currently have an over-under at 7.5 or 7.
So this is going to be, I think, a pretty fun team for us to talk about this year on Big Boof Bets because me and Boof are already disagreeing about them. I like over 7 wins. You can get it's 7 wins, I believe, at Fox Bet. I believe it's either Fox Bet or Rivers. I'm sorry, and
yeah, it's on Rivers.
On Rivers, yes. So give me over 7 wins. They won 5-10-1 last year. They were improving throughout the year. I like the chemistry with Murray and Kingsbury. I'm sorry, Kingsbury. I always screw up. Cliff Kingsbury. There we go. I always screw up his name. I like the chemistry with him and Murray. And now you're adding DeAndre Hopkins to that mix. You have a healthy Edmonds and Kenyon Drake at running backs. You have a nice 1-2 punch there. A lot of talent at wide receiver. A division that honestly is coming down to you a little bit with the potential Super Bowl hangover of the 49ers and the Rams not being the Rams they have been in past years. So I think you can feel pretty good about the Cardinals' floor being 7 wins. So if you're talking, I'm looking worst case scenario, a push. Yeah, I want to make that bet. So give me over 7 wins for the Cardinals. And then if you want a nice dark horse value bet for a division winner, Cardinals are going off at plus 800 to win the division. So if you feel like taking a stab there at that, give me a nice payout there. And then one more, if the Cardinals are winning the division, that means Kyler Murray is having a pretty good damn year. So he is going off currently at 23-1. That is $100. We'll win you $2,300 for the NFL MVP. So a little plug for that if you want to take a shot in the dark and a dark horse MVP candidate, I would say you couldn't go wrong with Kyler Murray either.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I disagree with, I just don't believe in Kyler Murray the way that you do. And, he runs around and stuff, and he'll get you some nice fantasy points throughout the year. But a lot of those are just empty yards. And when we need you to make a big play to win the game, he doesn't get it done. And I know he was a rookie last season, so you can only be so harsh on him. But, I mean, it's not like we had an offseason for him to do anything with this year. And then they don't protect him. So, he's mobile, but, you still want to be comfortable when you're throwing the football. And they don't do a good job protecting him. I think half of it is their scheme. I mean, you see defensive ends end up on running backs all the time with those guys. And you're in a division that can rush the passer pretty good there. So I don't know, man. I would take I like the under 7.5, and I'm the complete opposite on you, man. I like under in this one.
All right, so that does it for the NFC. So let's go ahead and head on over to the AFC. We'll start things off in the East with the ever so interesting and even more interesting New England Patriots. Over under total is kind of all over the board here. It's anywhere from 8.5 up to 9.5.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's crazy to see that much variance across the books here. But with all the losses via free agency, and more so because of COVID opt-outs, I don't see how you can't take the under here. I mean, no Brady, no Patrick Chung, no Tonta Hightower. They already didn't have a whole lot of talent on offense outside of Brady last year. You have an improving division. Yeah, I'm taking under. I don't know if I said 8.5. I'm taking under 9.5 here. I think that's a pretty good bet, and I don't even want to touch them as far as their division odds because again, I don't like them as a team.
I'm with you. I love the under 9.5. I have the full list of opt-outs here. It's Marcus Cannon, who plays offensive line. He plays tackle. You have Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung. Those two names probably stand out the most for me. I mean, the Patriots had a very good defense last year, and they're missing a leader at the linebacker level and a leader in the secondary level with Hightower and Chung. Then they're missing Matt Lacoste, Brandon Bolden, Dan Vitale, Marquise Lee, and Najee Turan. So 2 offensive linemen, along with some key guys on defense. I just don't see how in a Belichick defense where, you're expected to be disciplined, no mistakes ever. I don't see how with no offseason they're able to get all these new guys up to speed. And again, at some point you just run out of talent, man. Like you're not only playing chess out there. Like I think Belichick's an amazing coach, but at some point you got to have the horses to go do it. And I just don't think they do. The other part of this, I mean, there's kind of a conspiracy theory, if you will, that New England is kind of secretly tanking by almost encouraging guys to opt out. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the evil scheme to just have all those guys come back the following year and then get a bunch of high draft picks.
They always figure out a way to cheat.
Yeah, so I don't know. I love under 9.5, and we're locking that one in as well.
Get that money.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the Buffalo Bills with your season win total of over under 8.5.
I'm going to give everything away with this one. I'm going to be taking over 8.5 wins for the division champion Buffalo Bills. I think they're the most talented team in this division this season. I think they're the best team in the division this season. They already surpassed that win total last year, and now you're telling me the division is arguably worse this year. So now you have the addition of Stephon Diggs, which is going to help the offense even more. So yeah, give me over 8.5 wins and the Buffalo Bills to win the division. Is that plus 125 odds as well there, Boo?
Yes, sir.
You're giving me plus money to win the division for in my mind, the best team in the division. I'm going to take that as well. So you give me both of those for the Bills.
Well, I circled the wagons with the Bills all season last year. I'm not about to get off the wagon. So I also love over 8.5. Their biggest competition, we just talked about them, is going to be worse. They won 10 games last season. I know their schedule is supposed to be a little bit more difficult, but I think you continue to see Josh Allen progress. Like you said, they added Stephon Diggs, so we got a little bit more talent on offense. They already had an excellent defense. So love the over 8.5. That is another lock for us in this season. I'm also on board with the plus 125 to win the division as well.
All right, we're locking it in.
Get that money.
Let's take a look at the Miami Dolphins, who currently have an over-under total of 6.
I'm going to be going with over 6 wins for the Miami Dolphins. Considering how they finished the year last year, I think Flores is building something special down there in Miami. They've added talent in free agency and through the draft this year. like actually added talent, not just, generically added talent, like actually added talent. Like I think honestly, next year they are going to be a contender for this division. I stress next year. So I mean, I'm not talking. I don't think we're going to be looking at 10 or 11 wins this year, but do I feel like they can win 7, 8, 9 games? Maybe 9 games being their ceiling this year. Absolutely. So I definitely like over 6 wins. If you want to take a flyer and then make the playoffs at plus money, which I'm pretty sure is out there, I don't think that's a bad bet either. But I do think your safest and best bet with them is over 6 wins, and you ride that one to the bank.
Yeah, the Dolphins. I mean, they started the season off last year, and we were all accusing them of tanking, and they were just going to go 0-16 and blah blah. They ended up finishing the year at 5-11, and you can kind of see them just building that culture of, we think of ourselves as a winning football team. So they do have that going for them. It just a couple question marks. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of Ryan Fitzpatrick in any given week. And then beyond that, is Tua going to get a chance to play this year? If so, when? And if he does get in, how good is he going to be? I know a lot of people love him. I personally do not. I think he's going from Alabama, where you got the best O-line, the best backs, the best coach, the best structure. They had 2 first-round picks at wide receiver, an amazing defense. You're not going to have that just going to the NFL. So we'll see what Tua is able to do when he gets his opportunity. I personally do not think he's going to be spectacular. So I am staying away from this one. I mean, 6.5 is probably about right. So I'm staying away. It's a pass for me.
All right, well, let's close out the division with the New York Jets with their over-under win total at 6.5.
Yeah, this is literally one of my favorite win total bets of all of them. The Jets are awful. Adam Gase sucks. He's a lame duck coach. I don't even know how he even made it into this season. I doubt he's going to make it out of this season. They're trading people. They're trading all pros away like Jamal Adams. You have Le'Veon Bell, who Adam Gase hates, isn't even going to give him the ball. You lost Robbie Anderson. I believe they lost another guy or 2 on defense. Like, they suck. They sucked last year. Now they suck more. So, like, they're not going to win 7 games. So I think I think it's out of the realm of possibility they're even going to win 6. So yeah, give me under 6.5 all freaking day, all day.
Yeah, I agree. I love the under 6.5. I don't know where all this talk comes from that Chase Darnold's going to make this big leap going into this year.
You got no offseason.
Yeah, I wasn't that high on him when he got drafted personally. And I just don't know where the talk comes from that he's going to take this big step this year. So I still think they're bad at quarterback.
I think people see ghosts.
You already touched on, the turmoil going on with the coaching staff. I don't know. It sounds like half the locker doesn't even respect the guy. Greg Williams, it didn't seem like he had his back when the whole Jamal Adams thing was going down. And he seems like a bit of a weasel. He might be trying to sneak his way into the head coaching job.
Yeah.
All that to me adds up to a team that is already bad, and they're not going to find a way to fix it. Under 6.5 to me is a layup. And that's another lock for us this year.
Oh, yeah, lock it in. Get that money.
Okay, let's take a trip up to the AFC North and kick things off with the Baltimore Ravens. You have your over-under win total at 11.
It pains me to say this as a Steeler fan, but I do really like over 11 wins for the Ravens. Just Lamar Jackson just continues to improve. The team continues to improve, and I just don't see them winning less than 11 games. So I really like over 11 there. I also like them to win the division. Although the odds at minus 200, that's a little much on the juice department there. I mean, you got to bet 200 to win 100. So, I mean, that's really up to your own comfort level there. But I do think you can pretty much tank to the bank the Ravens winning at least 11 games, and also feel pretty damn good about them winning the division.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest concern with a number that high is if Lamar Jackson were to get injured and miss a stretch of games, how many would they win? So it doesn't take too much to knock you off of an 11-win pace. So that's probably the biggest concern is just an injury to Lamar Jackson, just due to the nature of how often he runs the ball. But I know during our discussion you pointed out he runs a lot, but he doesn't put himself at risk a lot, which I think is important to note because Russell Wilson, not that they play the same way, but they both avoid big hits well. So I'm not too concerned about that. And for that reason, I also like them to win over 11 games. And that is another lock for us this year.
Lock it in. Get that money.
Okay, so that takes us to your Pittsburgh Steelers, who currently have an over-under win total at 9.
So doing my best to avoid all homerism here, considering the Steelers went 8-8 last year with basically no one at quarterback, I would like to think that a healthy Big Ben at least gives them 2 more wins this year. I don't really think that's out of the realm of possibility. So you're giving me 9. I think worst case scenario, you're pushing. So I really like over 9 wins for the Steelers there. And also, if you're looking for a good value bet on the division, I mean, you're potentially a Lamar Jackson injury away, or honestly, just the Steelers just putting everything together offensively and defensively for challenging the division. That's plus 340. So I mean, I don't hate that at all either. But having said that, I really like over 9 wins. And if you're feeling a little freaky, I think it's a good value bet at plus 340 for the division.
Yeah, I agree. I like the over 9 as well. Big Ben, obviously, the biggest part of that. Truthfully, I mean, if you get high-end Roethlisberger play, I think the Steelers are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. So Super Bowl contenders do better than 9-7. And I definitely like the over there. And I agree on the plus 340. I mean, again, if Big Ben plays well, they are up in that level with the Ravens and Chiefs, in my opinion, maybe one notch below, but still a reasonable chance to win the division with a plus 340 payout. I think that's a good bet. But love the over 9, and that is another lock for us this year.
Lock it in. Get that money.
Beautiful. All right, let's move on to everyone's favorite clowns, the Cleveland Browns, with their over/under win total at 8.5.
So I was a believer last year, and they literally started out the season by pooping the bed. So as talented as the Browns are, and they are talented on both sides of the ball, you have a new head coach, which I do honestly think the new coaching staff is going to be a plus for them in the long run. You have a new coaching staff with no offseason. And I can't get past, I bought in last year blindly, and it bit me hard. So I'm at this point with the Browns, I'm in wait and see mode. So it wouldn't surprise me if they win 9 or 10 games. It wouldn't. It also wouldn't surprise me if they go 6-10. So it's just there's way too much unknown. There's way too much history for me to go over here. I would lean under just based on history, but again, they are talented, so I'm just not touching it.
I actually do like the under 8.5 wins for Cleveland. I do think they got an upgrade in the coaching staff department. I know they added 2 new tackles this year, so it's reasonable to expect better protection for Baker. My biggest issue with them is Baker Mayfield, though. And I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback. And I think that'll trickle over to Odell Beckham not getting the stats that he wants. And then you'll have a little bit of inter-team turmoil and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I think this team is 8-8 at best, which will still be under. And I like the pick. I like under 8.5.
Okay, so that brings us to the last of the division that I'm not assigning an order by any means, but last in the division, Cincinnati Bengals with a win total over under 5.5.
Yeah, it did kind of work out that way, didn't it? I'm going to go under 5.5 for the Bengals here. I feel pretty good about it. They weren't drafting first overall for no reason, and then you add that to the fact that you have a rookie quarterback starting with no offseason program, no preseason games, a second-year head coach. I don't like it. I think it's a recipe for disaster for this year. I think they honestly are probably they're going to be drafting in the top 2 or 3 again next year, which, I mean, honestly for them is going to work out pretty damn well, because I think Joe Burrow is pretty damn talented. I think in the end they're going to get pretty good pretty quick, as long as they have the right as long as they have the staff doing the right stuff. But this year it's just too much to overcome with a rookie at quarterback. So that's quarterback play so important in the NFL. I'm going to go under 5.5 wins.
I don't hate your logic on the under there. I just do believe in Joe Burrow a lot. I think he's an awesome quarterback. I don't think he's just going to come in and immediately light up the league. But I think as the season goes, he will get better. They do have better weapons than your typical number 1 overall pick has. I mean, it's Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, and Joe Mixon are 3 guys on that offense that are all very talented.
Red Higgins too.
Yeah, and they draft T. Higgins.
Yep.
So I mean, they are pretty strong at the skill positions. Now, are they going to be able to protect them? That'll probably be a problem, especially taking into account how good the pass rush is in the division. I am just scared that Joe and the offense will be able to put enough games together to go over 5.5. But I'm not strong. I don't feel strong enough about that to bet it either way. The Bengals are a pass for me.
Okay, moving into the AFC West. It's no secret who we're going to start things off with here. Your defending Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, with their Chiefs, with the over/under win total at a generous 11.5.
I mean, Boof, come on now. I mean,
was it ever in doubt?
I mean, come on now. I mean, over 11.5. I mean, if I could pick over 16.5, I would do that. I mean, Chase. I mean, all right. I mean, bringing it back down here, the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. I mean, even with Pat Mahomes injured last year, they still went 12-4. They won a Super Bowl as predicted. Pat Mahomes won Super Bowl MVP as predicted. I mean, so stick with me. They're going to win a division. They're going to win at least 12 games, guaranteed. Juice for the division. I mean, obviously everyone thinks they're going to win a division, because you are looking at minus 420 to win the division. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, I ain't betting that. That's just not even. Don't get me wrong. They're going to win the division, but there's no value there at all. Literally. I mean, you're a Pat Mahomes, early injury away from, really fretting about whether you're going to win $100 after betting 420. So I'm not a fan of that, but love the Chiefs to win the division. Love them to win at least 12 games. Even for our pre-show notes, we keep this. We make sure we keep this family friendly. So I'll just say, for our notes, we have for them to win the division. Expletive. Yes, bitches. So we feel pretty good about them winning the division and over 11.5 wins. So on to you there, Boof. Back me up.
Yeah, I also love them over 11.5. This team is incredible on offense. They had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Mecole Hardman really the whole receiving core is back for another year together. There's no reason for them to not be better. I mean, they didn't lose anybody from last year's team. Like you said, I mean, Mahomes missed time with injury last year, and they still went 12-4. So I think this is a layup. I know it's a high total, but Chiefs over all day. Yes, it is a lock. Next game.
Get that money, Chiefs.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, let's go on to the other. I have no idea where they live these days. Team, I believe they are also the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Clippers.
LAC, baby.
We have an over/under win total of 8 and/or 7.5.
Neither one matters for me. Don't feel good about either of them. You have Tyrod Taylor, who is the best backup in the NFL, but the problem is he's starting. So I don't really like that. The only thing I really like about the Chargers is him checking down to my boy's fantasy star, Austin Eckler, and I'll pass that on to him.
You know what? Man, the Chargers kind of remind me of the Colts last year with Jacoby Brissett. I think you have a pro quarterback. It's just you don't have an awesome quarterback. And they have some good players and stuff. They got a solid defense. Derwin James, I saw already has a little injury going on, so he seems to struggle to stay on the field.
He's done for the year, I believe. Yeah.
So, I don't know. 8 wins, 8-8. That sounds about right. The Chargers last year were 5-11. Rivers threw a lot of interceptions last year, and I remember the Chargers missed some kicks early in the season that could have helped them. So I can see them being a little better than that 5 total, but end of the day, it's about right. It's a pass for me.
That takes us to the Denver Broncos with an over-under win total of 7.5.
So the biggest thing with the Broncos here are how quickly are their young players on offense going to catch on with everything, because they already have a pretty good defense. They have Chubb coming back. So you already know you have a stout defense. Locke looked pretty good in the few games he played at the end of the year last year. Now you're adding Judy and Hamler to that wide receiving core that with Sutton at number 1. And now you have a nice 1-2 punch of Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay at running back. You have Fant at tight end. I mean, the Broncos have a pretty damn good young offense. So in a division that I think is going to be pretty wide open as far as offense goes, they have a decent. I mean, they have an outside shot to put up a decent season. 7.5 wins. I honestly like you. They have a nice defense. I'd go 8 wins. I don't feel take it to the bank super crazy confident, but I liked it. I mean, I'd bet over 7.5 for the Broncos. And honestly, like, again, you're looking at a team that's going to have thinking to be dominant in the division because of their quarterback. He gets hurt, the whole division's up for grabs. The Broncos are plus 1,100 to win the division. You want to talk about crazy value. Now, granted, I do think it would take a Mahomes injury for that to happen. But the Broncos plus 700 to win a division, that's damn good value with a team that definitely has the weaponry to do something. And I guarantee you can get plus odds for them to make the playoffs, and I would be all over that. So, give me over 7.5 wins for the Broncos and dark horse to win the division and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched on all the reasons there. I also like Denver over 7.5. I agree. It's just that all the talent on that offense is young. So it's a matter of when they, basically put it together before they start to get good. So with that being an unknown, I don't feel quite strong enough to call it a lock, but I do like the pick. I personally will have that in, at least by itself, it's just its own little unit bet for over 7.5.
Okay, so we'll finish out the division with the Las Vegas Raiders with your over-under at 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go under 7.5 here for the Raiders. They just seem like a team destined for a QB controversy from all the things I'm hearing out of camp. John Gruden loves every quarterback he's ever laid his eyes on. So I just don't love them. Tyrell Williams is already hurt, one of their top wide receivers. I love Jacobs at running back, but I don't think they have a whole lot outside of him. Waller. They have Waller. I do like Waller at tight end, but like they don't really have a lot of people that wow you. All the teams in their division, I think the Raiders are the worst one. I don't like them winning more than 7 games. I think that's their ceiling. So I feel pretty good about betting under 7.5.
Yeah, last year the Raiders were 7-9. Now I think the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs will all be better than they were last year, and I think the Raiders kind of stayed about the same. So I see their win total being worse, which would put them under 7.5. I do like that as a pick.
That leaves us with the most exciting AFC division to finish things off with, the AFC South. We'll kick things off with the Indianapolis Colts. You have an over-under of 8.5 or 9.
I'm not touching it because I could see it going either direction. I don't know what Phillip Rivers I'm going to get. He's had teams that have been pretty good over the past couple years and teams that have been pretty bad. One thing that is consistent, though, is he throws a lot of interceptions, and I don't trust him, so I'm passing.
Yeah, honestly, the Colts are kind of like the Steelers in a sense that, like, depending on what you get out of Phillip Rivers, I mean, this team could be thrown into Super Bowl contention. I mean, if you got amazing Phillip Rivers play, I mean, you get that. You got a good offensive line, solid receivers, good back, good defense. I mean, you got all the pieces there. You got. I mean, I like Frank Reich as a coach.
I do like, yeah.
So, I mean, I could see this team being awesome. And at the same time, you could have Phillip Rivers throwing 20-plus picks like he did last year. And he might just be old and not that good anymore. That might just be the case. In which case, this team stinks. So when you have no clue what's going to go on like that, that is a pass.
Okay, that takes us now to the Tennessee Titans with it over/under at 8.5.
I'm going to go over here just because I think the Titans are the best team in the division. I think they figured a lot of things out the second half of the season last year. They have a good defense, solid running game, great. I really like their talent at wide receiver, and I think they have an above-average quarterback. I think Tannehill's shown to, once he got out of Miami, to be a pretty good quarterback actually. So when he was called upon last year to make plays, he made them. So I feel pretty good about the Titans over 8.5 wins, and with all that logic, I also like them to win the division. We're getting what, plus 165 to win the division, if I'm reading correctly here. So, I mean, you're getting plus odds to win the division. I think they're the best team. Like that as well.
Yeah, I like the Titans over 8.5 as well. They were 9-7 last year, and Tannehill did not start all the games for them, so they were obviously better once they made that switch. The other thing is they are just built and play a different brand of football than most of the league. So kind of them in Baltimore are always a matchup problem because teams are built to stop the pass. And nobody else kind of has the same physical, punch you in the mouth, run you over style the way Tennessee does with Derrick Henry. And so no matter what team they play, they're always going to be a matchup problem for them like that. And then on the flip side, you have, Mike Vrabel that seems to be very confident or competent in putting together a scheme for a given opponent in a given week. So I think they're coached well. They got talent at wide receiver, good defense. This is a good football team. So, I mean, 8.5 wins to me is very coverable. I like the over. Get that money.
Get that money.
Okay, well, somebody has to win this division, right?
Right.
So let's move on to the Houston Texans, who currently have an over/under win total sitting at 7.5.
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is I don't trust Bill O'Brien. The Texans are definitely talented enough to win this division. They could honestly, I can see the Texans winning anywhere from 10 or 11 games to 6 or 7. That's way too much of a variance for me. It all depends on, honestly, Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson. Because when Deshaun Watson is, the quick, decisive, efficient version of himself, they're a really, really good football team. Now, one thing that's also very important to take into consideration here is that was with DeAndre Hopkins. They no longer have DeAndre Hopkins. So that's another thing you're going to need to see how they adjust to that. Now, granted, they brought in Brandon Cooks, pretty good receiver, not DeAndre Hopkins. So, I mean, that's just way too many variables for me. So I don't want any parts of them.
Yeah, man, this is one of those, like, Texans are at 7.5. I think I would lean over on this. I really do. Titans and Colts, to me, should be better this year, so that makes it more difficult within your division. But, I mean, the last 2 years, Texans won 10 in 11 games with Bill O'Brien, whether you like him or not. I know DeAndre Hopkins is gone, but to me, they brought in a very competent guy in Brandon Cooks, who until last year was as reliable of a 1,000-yard receiver as they come. I don't know. I did elect to pass on the game. Again, the biggest thing is just a little bit of division talent getting better. And I worry about how Deshaun feels about losing DeAndre Hopkins. I kind of worry, how much he believes in his own front office, putting him in the best chance to win. So, I don't know. End of the day, Texans are a pass for me.
Last and certainly least, the Jacksonville Jaguars with your over/under and at doesn't matter 4.5 or 5.
I was going to say
it definitely matters.
It definitely does. I was going to say we're definitely not saving the best for last. That's for damn sure. 4.5. Can we? Is there like a 1.5? Can I bet under that?
I mean, I'm sure you could get a pretty decent payout if you really want to try.
This team might go 0-16. Like they suck. They don't have anybody. Like your best. They just released their best player. They just released Fournette. So you're out there. I think the crazy part is I think Gardner Minshew could be a decent fantasy quarterback just because they're always going to be behind. So he's going to get a lot of garbage time stats. But defensively, they lost all of their good players on defense. Like literally all of them. All of them. Like any way you can think of, they ain't there no more. Offensively, like they got Chark. I like him. But point being, like, this is a really, really bad team. They are tanking. They don't want to win. Even though it's 4.5, I believe it's at Fox Bet. You can still get it at 5. Jump on 5 while you can. I would bet it at 4.5, but still, jump on 5. Take that all day. I'll be surprised if this team wins 2 or 3 games. If you can find someone that'll let you parlay the under 6.5 for the Jets and the under 5 for the Jaguars, that is a fantastic future parlay. I highly recommend that. I'm sure Boof agrees with me on it. So you continue talking crap on the Jags, Boof.
I also love under 5. Some of the names you're talking about on defense, they were talking AJ Boye, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue. These are all Pro Bowl caliber players.
That's only half their defense.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They cut Leonard Fournette. I mean, they are obviously tanking. They want to get Trevor Lawrence. They were already bad last year. They're going to be worse this year. Going to be a tough place to play. You hear a lot of guys do not like Tom Coughlin and kind of the philosophy they have installed there. So from the front office down, doesn't seem to be doing a very good job. And I know it's a low total, but I love under 5 on this. This is our last lock of our 2020 over on team totals here.
Lock it in, baby. Get that money.
All right. Well, we've run out of teams, and I got nothing else for you.
What do you think, Tony? You want to do a little recap of the locks real quick?
Sure thing. You're going to need 2 hands to count all these locks, but let's start at the top. We got the Green Bay Packers with the over 8.5 win total. The Chicago Bears with a resounding under 8 wins. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an over 9.5. The New England Patriots under 9.5. The Buffalo Bills over 8.5. The New York Jets under 6.5. The Baltimore Ravens at over 11. Your Pittsburgh Steelers at over 9. The Kansas City Chiefs over 11.5. And everyone's favorite Jacksonville Jaguars under 5.
All right. Looking forward to kicking this thing off. Next week we're going to be doing our picks for week 1. Be sure to like and share on social media. And best of luck to everybody. Let's get that money.
Get that money. Chase.